Are you feeling a little impulsive? Have you maybe already jumped in feet first and now you are getting met with reality? Are you feeling the need to just move or start something up that's physical? Is your self energy getting stronger? Are you running into tough people or old issues or situations that are popping up from your past? Maybe even the distant past. Are you having memories from Atlantis? If so, you are feeling the new moon in Aries energies. This is just the astrology. This is the cosmic weather. This is Astrology Intuition with Amy Lynn, and I'm here to teach you how to understand and integrate the energies in the cosmos that we're all feeling down here in our little empathic, receptive bodies on the earth. This is the best way I know to help you separate and get altitude and perspective on the experiences you're having in your daily life that might be challenging, intense, confusing, that actually have a deeper root in the energetics that you're feeling. So we all feel what's happening in the solar system, and then we tend to make it personal. We can't help it. We have egos. It's just what we do. But the reason I bring you the astrology is so that you can understand the energies you're feeling. You can understand that it's not just you, it is the cosmos. And I'm going to give you ideas of working with these themes and what you can actually do in your day-to-day practical life so that you can cope. There's so much happening. Each time I meet with you, I'm coming to you from a new moon or a full moon because that is the time when the moon really concentrates and brings that solar system energy and directs it here to the earth. So right now we're in the new moon in Aries energies. In many traditions, this is the absolute new year energy. You know it connects to spring. Aries equinox is when the start of the season of spring is, but the new moon being the seed point is really when we drop into the complete beginning point of the Aries energies, even though it's confusing because this is a very late degree new moon. So it has we've been waiting to get to the new moon. But if you keep having that feeling of stops and starts and like something's happening or something's coming and it's not here yet, part of that is because this is a late degree new moon and we've been like waiting to get here. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the themes of the last half of April. I'm going to give you a broad overview so you can just feel into intuitively what I'm saying. I'm going to save the planetary and the zodiac and the degree details until the end for all my fellow astro nerds that like to put it into your calendar and know what's happening. I am then going to give you your chart hotspots. What that means is I'm going to talk to you about the specific, maybe handful of points in the zodiac wheel that are really lit up or activated right now by where the transits are happening. So you can look at those in your chart and understand how to be working with them personally. And then, like I said, I'll give you the transit details day by day for the last couple of weeks of April. If you like tracking at that level, by the way, I will put the link below in the show notes, but this is my lunar astrological weekly planner. It brings the astrology to you in a week by week paper, pen to paper kind of way of working with the energies. It has channeled messages from me. It's one quarter at a time. So the April, May, and June version is available now on Amazon for $28. You can do a search for Astrology Intuition Weekly Planner and you'll find it, or I'll put a link below. I literally use this to plan my own life and understand what's happening, and it also organizes me for the podcast. It is such an amazing backbone of working with these energies in the timeline and reality of your actual life. So I hope you'll pick this up. So let's go to these themes, these big, broad, overarching themes of what we're living through. Whew. One thing that I want to point out here is that in the Aries energies, we have not really had a full chance to feel and breathe into what the world has felt like since the nodes really have cleared the Aries Libra axis. We're now living free of the lunar nodes and the eclipses happening on that axis. They've been in Virgo and Pisces for a while, and there's an chapter energy as the nodes change. And I always find that it takes about a year after the last eclipse to really land in, okay, this is the space we've cleaned out in these two pockets of the zodiac where these eclipses were happening. And in recent years, we've had eclipses in Aries. We haven't for a little while, which has given us a chance to feel the space of this sign in our charts in our lives with some clearance to it, with some karmic residue gone. That's kind of what the eclipses do. They wipe the things away. But we haven't had much of a break to really feel that because in the meantime, every planet and their mother has moved into the sign of Aries. So we have a loaded um, I don't even know what you call it. We say stellium when it's a multiple planets, but it's like power packed. It's like a stellium on steroids in Aries right now. So it's like we haven't been able to really feel the emptiness or the quietude that comes post eclipse in Aries. It's like we just keep getting loaded, like loaded up. So that's partly why there's a lot of this past energy coming forward right now, I believe, is because we're sort of meant to take things one at a time with these past humans or past interactions or past choices that are sort of revisiting us to look at with new eyes. Now that we have come through the Saturn Neptune conjunction at the 0 degrees of Aries point, and we're all feeling the sense of like a reinvigoration or reinvention, a new future self, a strength in us, in our self energy, kind of like showing up and asking to be seen and to be embodied. That's actually one of the main themes is being able to embody your future self. It's like the future is not in the future. The future is here. The future is now, especially by the time we get to the end of April. So each time I bring a podcast to you, I'm talking about approximately 2 weeks of time until we get from a new moon to a full moon or a full moon to a new moon. So this is the new moon in Aries, and what we're going to be moving towards in these themes is the full moon. Let me just get the exact information from you or for you. The May 1st is the Scorpio full moon. That will be happening, by the way, at 11:23 a.m., 11 degrees. So this podcast takes you through May 1st when I'll be back again to talk to you from the place of that full moon. And every time I lately, do these podcasts, I'm like, by the next time I talk to you, everything's going to be totally different. But that just continues to be true. So that will also be true in May. Okay, so let's get to some of these themes. There's still this threshold moment, this crossing over of a line, this before and after, chapter one, chapter two kind of vibe that's happening, only we're like living through it in real time. So I think it's hard to kind of get the perspective of that. So try to remember that. Try to be filing things in. Is this part of the before or is this part of the after or is this just part of the now? The pause, the now, the moment before the inhale is also a really important place to bring your awareness. And you can even practice that in a breath meditation, that kind of holding your breath at the top and the bottom, at the top of the inhale and the bottom of an exhale, and just putting your presence with that space of that beat, of that weight. There's something in being able to embody that quality that's going to help you move through these times. There's something you've been becoming um, in these past few years, and where this is likely really happening in your chart is the house where you have Aries, particularly if you're using a Placidus system like I tend to, the place where you have the 0 degrees of Aries point is really where this is happening. But what this new moon is telling us is it's time to start to live from the frequency of the future being now. The new self is here. Your self energy is ready to be lived through your behavior, your action, your habits. Like actually do it instead of just processing it or theorizing it or journaling it or drawing it or thinking it. The manifestation is the living. This is not meant to be perfect. It's like a messy time. There's like a creative, like any of you who are like creatives, there's like a messiness to the process. Like you have to sort of put everything out and then figure out what you're doing and then sort of dive into the finished product. And that's kind of where we are right now. I think that there's some questions here for us about what is actually real. Like we've kind of been faced with that question, just by the collective, but inside of you, what's actually real and true? How and where are you still living from an old echo of yourself or an old pattern or conditioning or something that is not really true to you? Um, I did write some notes down for the themes. I feel like It's hard. Okay, so there's one I am going to talk about a specific transit, which is the Mars Saturn conjunction. This is a hard transit. This is happening the weekend following the new moon in Aries, but it's just kind of here in the mix of things, and it kind of trails off over the course of the next couple of weeks, but it's big, and it can be the feeling of starting and stopping, which I still am getting that from the eclipse energy in Aries, from the equinox happening early and the new moon in Aries happening later, but especially from this transit, the sort of like go now, impulse, this, and the block, the reality, the check-in, the plan, like this sort of back and forth energy. So this is just another place for you to really feel into your center, feel into your body, your gravitational field, back into your hara line, your central channel, and find the place deep within you where there is presence and there is peace, and you don't have to think or understand or project or analyze. You can just know your own frequency. Like that is such a strong thing here. It's like knowing your own soul frequency as a vibrational feeling in your system. Oh, if you have not hit the accelerator yet, by the way, uh, this is the week where it's like you're in gear and you're ready to go. And if you can't, like, there's still the Saturn sort of like, like when you're driving and you forget you have the parking brake on and you try to go and you're like, well, that's not good. It's got a little bit of that, but by the time we get to next week, we are flying. There's just head spinning energy. You've probably been feeling that this week, just like getting popped and pulled in different directions. And just when you are moving forward with this quick response to something, there's like something else and it takes you in a totally different direction that you also have to kind of move quickly on. It's just been kind of crazy. I also want to say a tool here is really try to not plan too far ahead or to be too locked in to what you really want something to be. Like less specifics, I would say, because things are just changing and moving way too fast. And that is going to pick up even more, which I'm going to get to as I move through these themes and transits. Consider what practices keep you grounded. I mean, being with nature, soothing your breath and your heartbeat, tasting your food, bringing yourself to it, whatever five senses kind of experience brings you to the present moment. There's a huge energy with Chiron with this moon, because the sun and the moon are together with Chiron. They're also together with Eris, but I'm going to mostly focus on Chiron here. Um, Chiron's been in Aries for a really long time, for years, asking us to really look at the ways that we've been wounded around the self. Like, I want you to think about protecting and letting the wound finally heal that relates to you being fully who you really are. Like this is very much an uncovering or a coming out all the way with the true self of who you are. And that might just be a little internal moment with yourself where um, there's just something subtle inside of you, a nuance that only you know. It might be something outward, but I think it's more of a shift of an internal sense of connection to that. Um, some more themes. Let's see. There's a quieter, deeper undertow pull that's going to be showing up with this May 1st full moon in Scorpio, which kind of like brings stuff to the surface. But before, it's like we can't get down under that. I'm always using these gardening analogies because I'm constantly working with my flower garden. Um, it's like you really have to clear the ground and deal with, like right now, it's the season of like all the weeds popping up and you can't keep up with everything and kind of keep cleaning and preparing the soil. It's not quite time to plant, but you're just getting the surface level already. And that's kind of this quick Aries fire starting energies, moving here, moving there, reacting to this, reacting to that. But there's really something happening much deeper in the soil that's going to take some digging and some amending and some composting to like really get to something. And that's what we're on our way to over the arc of this 2 week period of time. Um, I also, oh gosh, what else do I want to tell you with this? So we're always talking about the moon itself. Where is it in the lunar cycle? This is a new moon. So this is a quieting. This is a setting intentions. This is a seed point. Anytime we talk about a new moon, we have three timelines that we're opening up or activating. a short, a medium, and a long. So let me give you some of these dates because as you're thinking of, like, again, I don't want you planning and like controlling and projecting too much detail, but just having a sense of what are the timelines I'm working with on the things that are here now or the things that are in my chart in Aries, particularly at that 0 degrees point, and then also whatever you have at the point where this moon is happening. If I didn't say that yet, it's at almost 28 degrees. So the tail end of Aries, what do you have in those two places? If you're using whole sign, it will just be one house there. But if you're more nuanced about it and you're using Placidus or Cook or Campanus, you're going to see that you might have two houses that you're sort of balancing and working with here. So this new moon in Aries at 27 degrees, 29 minutes seeds something that has a completion or a release or a movement that's very obvious by the time we get to the Scorpio full moon on May 1st. That's the short lunar cycle. That's the one we live through week by week. It's a month of time from one new moon to the next new moon. We also always have a 6 month pattern, though, where when we have a new moon, we have a pair, a match in the same zodiac sign, but as a full moon on the opposite side of the year. So the 6 month timeline here brings us to the Aries full moon, which is going to be September 26th, 2026, at 3 degrees. This is, I feel like we have like lifetimes of astrology packed into just that 6 months of time, this new moon till that full moon in Aries. And it is going to be like, if you need to, if you're still like, what is this future self thing I'm working with? And you don't know, try to sit in meditation with yourself and remote view or like kind of fast forward and put yourself into that timeline of late September. It's the end of the summer, the beginning of fall, the harvest time, like that's where we are in the year. And where you're sitting there is like the whole thing, the everything quality of what we've been like trying to wrap our heads around. You'll be like holding it in your arms, like this full basket of the everythingness of this. And you'll be able to actually sit with it and see it and feel it. And there will be retrogrades in the fall that are letting us like slow down just enough for this crazy wild ride of a year and a spring and a summer. There's just so much happening. Um, the lunar manifestation cycle or gestational cycle, that is a 27-month, the long range here of the lunar cycle. There's going to be a full moon happening 18 months from now, which is going to be October 15th, 2027. So this is for some of that longer term kind of way that you might be working with the energies. If you have a bigger project or a bigger life change or something that you are trying to have some intention and consciousness with and to actually build with um, kind of a Saturn energy, like a plan over time, that's a really good way to track it. In about 9 months from now, there will be a first quarter moon, which I have all those covered in the planner that I have for you. There's page call outs that talk to you about these lunar cycles and connect you with where they happen in your chart. So in 9 months, there will be a first quarter moon, which will be a choice point or a check-in with whatever you're starting now that has that longer term quality. Then you'll have the 9 months from that until that full moon on October 15th, 2027. And then there's like the 9 month trail of that where things kind of integrate and complete the rest of the way. What I really want to focus on is the energies happening, really this kind of middle chunk between the new moon and the full moon, the middle week of that is so much. It's so much that, see my title? My title in the planner for that week is Turning Point of a Lifetime. So that is a huge theme that's coming up is we're not just feeling big things and um, having to just regulate ourselves with all the shifts and the changes and the new energy, but it's like actually going to be turning corners, turning chapters, turning pages, new identities almost out of nowhere, like things falling from the sky, things landing in your lap. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know what this is going to be for you, but just be ready for anything. Be ready for anything. Like expect the unexpected is really what the energy that's here. That week of the 19th, it really arrives like a lightning bolt. There is like an electric spark to it. Um, there's an unmistakable sense that time is speeding up even more, which just seems crazy. It seems like that's not even possible, but that is definitely going to be what it feels like. We'll still be kind of feeling out the edge of that Aries new moon. Um, there's going to be sudden clarity. I think there's going to be a lot of like that intuitive perception, those pings, just the downloads coming in. This is definitely not a time to have a full plan. Like, come out of planning, come out of control, come out of figuring out. It's about recognizing the moment where your hesitation can drop and the impulse matches the intuition. And that's a go. Something inside you says now, has that kind of feel to it. At the same time, there's also this like tension. There's a tension between that inner knowing, that wisdom, and that impulse, that reflex, that now. And so you want to kind of discern between acting quickly versus acting in alignment. So the more you practice being in alignment, that will be your truth. That will be your answer. That will be the place where the impulse and the wisdom coalesce and like work together. And from that place, it is a launching pad. Like that combination of those energies is a launching pad. The most powerful thing you can do is trust the first spark, like get that hit. Don't try to control it where it's going and let it kind of breathe and be alive. Like you're caretaking the spark. And from that, you're trusting each little ping of that intuition or that knowing. Huge energy that week. There is a first quarter moon coming in Leo. Um, God, there's so much. It's happening on Thursday, the 23rd. That's going to connect back 9 months to the new moon in Leo that we had last summer. So that's another kind of timeline that's playing out right now. There were things that happened in the astrology last summer that brought like a peekaboo, like a preview of things. And they sort of like landed in that new moon in Leo and let us sort of be like, okay, there's like this new thing that I'm doing and I'm starting it now. And that longer lunar manifestation cycle is where this first moon gives us a check-in. So there will be a check-in coming up with something that you started late summer. So have that on your radar. I think what I'm going to do, I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. I'm going to shift now to um, the key activation points in your chart. So this is where you look at your birth chart as though it's just a map. The zodiac wheel is a map, and it's like a clock where the transiting planets are moving counterclockwise, like the hands of a clock, and like your birth chart is the face of the clock. And you're going to look at where these activation points are happening in the wheel on your chart. Okay. Mostly houses to keep it simple. If you understand this, you can look at planets and points you have that are nearby. And I'm also going to talk to you about the energies that square it because that squares and oppositions matter a lot here with these activations. So there's strong, strong energy still working at early Aries. 2 to 8 degrees is really the hot spot. This place in your chart is about self-trust. This is where you go to find that self-trust. All the Aries stuff is going to be impacting early cardinal signs as well. So anything 2 to 8 degrees of Cancer, 2 to 8 of Libra, 2 to 8 of Capricorn, and then of course of Aries. And then where we have this new moon is way later in Aries. So there's like this beginning and end of Aries feel. And that's the 27, 28 degrees of Aries. So you're also going to look at the end of all the cardinal signs, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, Aries, and what do you have there? And that's where you're living your self energy, like actually embodying it. So we kind of move from like self-trust and getting the knowing to the embodiment of it. Another part of your chart that's going to be rocked is the tail end of Taurus and the tail end of all fixed signs. This is the place to kind of hang on and get ready to be grounded. There's a completion, there's also a shakeup, there's an unknown anxiety, there's a, oh, thank God this is over kind of energy, and that's happening. Let's call it 25 to 29 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. That's where we can release and let go and shake it all out. Like thinking of the lymph bounce, thinking of my vibration plate. That's actually a great meditation. Where in your chart do you have the end degrees of fixed signs? Get on your vibration plate if you have one and shake it out. Let it go before Let's go anyway. Okay, so then from there, we're also going to have this huge activation. And this is really about Uranus. You probably, if you're tracking the transits, I'll go into the days this happens, but Uranus is moving out of Taurus, where it's been for years, into Gemini. So the beginning of Gemini and the mutable signs is another place where there's that shakeup energy, only this is not the completion part of the shakeup. This is the, and now we're in this storyline. We just got plopped into this story. And so this is going to be 0 to 3 degrees of Gemini and all the other mutable signs, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. This is the future. This is where you're going. This is future self showing up in the setting that you're in now. This is perception like you've never had before. This is the telepathy. This is the your psychic gifts picking up major. And then connected to that, or I think where we get sort of like coloring and shading from that, is going to be happening in Aquarius, 5 to 7 degrees. And that kind of early part of all the fixed signs, that's going to give us shades of the future based on what we've been transforming. And what do we have in our chart? That's a place where we're still kind of churning and working and uncovering to get to that future flow. Actually, I love that future flow. That might be the title of my podcast. I'm going to write it down. This is how these things go. They just drop in. So 5 to 7 degrees of Aquarius, as well as Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. I skipped over Taurus for some reason. That's where you're churning, looking, uncovering, digging a little bit to understand the nuance of this future and this perceptive quality that you're um, activating in yourself. There's a couple more points in the chart. There's Cancer, 18 degrees. This is where to anchor. This is where to find a sense of your roots, your home base, the ground beneath you. It doesn't have to be ground. It's actually Cancer is a water sign, so it can even just be like it's anchor's the right term here. Um, and last but not least, the place in your chart where there's really deep soul guidance and like karmic soul family kind of energy coming through is Pisces, 7 to 8 degrees. So also you can look to the mutable signs to find that too. Really strong in Pisces, really strong in Virgo, and then some little like angel on your shoulder kind of energy, I would say, from the other two mutable signs, Gemini and Sagittarius, at that 7 to 8 degrees. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to go into more points than that. I think that's a lot to work with. DM if you have questions. What I'm going to do now is run through the transits, looking to make sure I have them all here. So get your planner, get my planner. And here's what I've got. April 18th, 8:45 a.m. Mercury in Aries, sextile Juno in Aquarius. This is about a spark of what you're committed to. 2:34 p.m. the same day on the 18th, Mercury in Aries will sextile Pluto in Aquarius. I think this is going to be bringing your understanding of what that last thing I just talked about, of that Aries and that fixed energy in the 7 to 8 degrees of, I'm sorry, I just read the wrong degrees to you. The 5 to 7 degrees of Aquarius. I think that's really where this Mercury is going to bring in the knowing and the understanding of the uncovering, the transforming, the discovery energy. That could be happening on the collective too. April 19th, 4:43 p.m. Mars in Aries conjunct Saturn in Aries, 7 degrees 51 minutes. This is big. We're already feeling it. This is the yes, no kind of back and forth, start, stop energy. It can be really depressing if you have a lot of fire and a go in your chart, if you have a strong Mars energy, if you have a lot of Aries type vibes or cardinal energy in your chart. This is a really tough one. This is like a pullback that is out of your hands. If you're someone who likes to slow down and plan, this is going to be like, oh, thank God. Like, whew, like I was not ready to sprint. I need to catch my breath. So I think for some people, it could actually feel kind of constructive or supportive. At 7:39 p.m. on April 19th, just a few hours later, the sun moves into Taurus. We get Taurus season. The sun moving out of Aries will definitely feel like it's like putting the car in cruise control. It's like we work to get up to the certain speed, and now we can just like hit the cruise control button, lean back just a touch, let the ride happen, be with our soul connection and our higher self. Actually, I love working with the high heart, the top of the sternum. Tapping there is a really good way to kind of feel this brings in kind of for me the sun being in Taurus, which is such an embodied sun. And it's such a, I don't know, working with the bones to me and the frequency in your bones is very like earth sign energy. And so that'll kind of like bring us back home. I think that'll be really, it'll feel different and nice when the sun's in Taurus, but there's a lot happening there too. April 20th, we have three things in the wee small hours of the morning, mostly 2:11 a.m. Juno in Aquarius is conjunct Pluto. We just had this is kind of tracing us back to what's going on the 18th. We're getting a little more information from that Plutonian dig. 5:22 a.m. Mercury in Aries conjunct Saturn. 7 degrees 55 minutes. This brings in more of the understanding of what the Mars working with Saturn at this place in your chart is. Okay. And again, that's like that 8 degrees. Aries is that early, I think I told you 2 to 8 degrees, that part of your chart where all that stuff is shifting and where there's self trust that needs to happen. So on the 20th, you get more of an understanding there. And then later on, Mercury will then conjunct Mars. So because Mars and Saturn were just together and now they've just barely separated, Mercury is going to go duck, duck. Here we go. Boop, boop. You and then you. And that's at 3:45 p.m. is when Mercury is conjunct Mars in Aries, 8 degrees, 36 minutes. That day is going to be a lot. Now until the 20th, the whole week, what am I saying? Everything is a lot. It is the turning point of a lifetime next week. I'm telling you. Okay. April 23rd, we have four things. 4:51 a.m. Venus in Gemini, sextile Pallas Athene in Pisces, late degrees, 29 degrees. I think this is going to be great. I think this is going to be like it's like this the message is like don't get too soft. Like take a breather, but like don't take your running shoes off. That's the message here. 7:58 p.m. Venus conjunct Uranus in Taurus. This is the final goodbye of Venus working with Uranus in Taurus. This is the end. It's the beginning of the end. But like I always tell my students, like when Venus moves for like when she kind of connects and then moves ahead and is like doing something before an outer planet, she's like a flower girl. I kind of hate that analogy because I think it's kind of a bullshit archetype, patriarchal role that sucks. But anyway, but just that idea of like laying down something soft and pretty for the threshold moment, for the walk across to the new thing. So it's very sweet and soft and lovely on one hand, but it's also like absolute turmoil market crashing quakes on the other end. Hang on to your heart. That's what that one says to me. Hang on to your heart. 8:31 p.m. on April 23rd. It's the first quarter moon in Leo that I talked about already. Moving on, 10:03 p.m., Venus enters Gemini. So Venus is going first. So she's like, she's like excited to see the beauty that can happen with this new, like she's like positive and she wants like ease and peace, but she's not, she's a little rose-colored glasses, but I think here at the beginning of Gemini, because she meets up with Sedna, also there's like the way that the deep feminine, the ancient feminine lives in all of us as a frequency of like, we've seen this, we've done this before, kind of that like old bones kind of feeling. There's that version of Venus that's the one crossing this threshold into Gemini. So I think there's like wisdom in it, even though there's a quickening and all this excitement and all this who knows what kind of energy happening. On April 25th, this like let this put the flashing lights on this day. This is 10:32 a.m. The Sun in Taurus squares Pluto in Aquarius. It's the first time that square has happened with Pluto being this far into Aquarius. So again, this is going to take you back to that 5 to 7 degree shades of the future based on what's transforming kind of vibe. Um, at 6:50 p.m. on April 25th is when Uranus enters Gemini. This is life-changing collective I was going to say upheaval. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it is, but it's the kind of thing where something lifts off and we can never really land back in that place that we just lifted off from. Something changes and it's permanent. And here we go, and now we're here. It's the seeing, you can't unsee what you can see. It has that kind of immediacy to it. There's like probably 100 podcasts just on that. So if you're interested in that energy, go look it up. Um, yeah, I won't say more about that. That would be another hour-long podcast. I did that to you last time. April 25th, 11:06 p.m. Pallas Athena enters Aries, which I love this because it's like the female warrior comes in. Like she knows like a different set of battle rules. There's still like a surge, an initiation, an activation, a push, a fight, something that we're moving toward, but it has feminine wisdom to it. April 26th, 11:42 a.m. Venus in Gemini sextile Neptune in Aries, 3 degrees 7 minutes. This is a lovely little connection. It's like you'll barely even notice it with everything else going on. But if you have a minute to, like, I don't know, go to brunch that day and sit and enjoy what you're doing for 2 seconds amid the chaos, that's what to use that transit for. 12:33 p.m. Mercury in Aries square Jupiter in Cancer, 18 degrees 20 minutes. Um, this is asking you to anchor. This is the day that's like, okay, brunch was nice, but how are you anchoring into your sense of internal security, home base? Where is your home base? Find your high heart, find your roots, find the earth, find nature. April 27th, 8:39 a.m. The sun in Taurus was sextile, the North Node in Pisces. This is more that whisper of the karma, the soul path, that sort of like that underlying knowing that whatever you're going through and dealing with, whatever feels a little crazy and wild, there's like something like that long view of the soul's lifeline being like thousands of times on the earth or whatever, wherever else we incarnate into, that there's like this, we're just here for a blip. This is a blip. This has such a, it's such a tiny, tiny piece of that bigger, longer soulscape energy. On April 28th, 10:39 a.m., Venus in Gemini will trine Pluto in Aquarius. I actually think this is a great day. This is like something will really land, something will heal, something will shift, something will be reconciled. What's the right word for this? I just think you're going to feel like it's all been worth it. Like there's something around like, oh, this is why it was hard, or this is why I was waiting, or this is why what I was trusting this for. That shows up then. It probably will be not just that day, but like that sort of like chunk of time. That will be feeding very much into the full moon in Scorpio too, by the way, which is great, which actually happens. Um, oh wait, I skipped ahead. I was going to say that happens, well, it happens a couple of days before the full moon in Scorpio, but the last two transits at the end of April, April 29th, 7:31 p.m., Venus in Gemini will square the North Node in Pisces. This is like a check-in with your heart. This is like, okay, I just went through the turning point of a lifetime that whole week, that whole situation. And now I've had this like kind of soul check-in, something else has been uncovered. And now I'm like, okay, let's do like what is my heart saying here? Let the heart speak. Do a meditation where you just kind of literally drop into the physical space of your heart and let it breathe and speak and see what's there. April 30th, 12:58 a.m. So just past midnight. So it's kind of still the 29th. Venus will trine Juno. This is a recommitment. This is like, I think of like having a best friend necklace with yourself, which actually, I love that. I'm going to leave you here with that as your homework. Make one of those, find one. I don't know. I'm going to go do that. We are in the future. We're in the future flow. Keep following and listening to your heart. Keep your anchor. Trust yourself. Use your knowing. Use your five senses to be present. There is so much happening. Reach out if you need a reading to help understand this in your chart. If you don't see something on my online booking that works for you, just DM me because I sometimes have other openings I can offer to you. Otherwise, please grab my planner. It is going to be so helpful for you to start to really deepen into living the astrology day by day. I will be back here again in early May to bring you information about the full moon in Scorpio. I am with you. I'm living this with you. So I'm right here. Reach out if you have questions or if you need me. Take care out there. Talk to you soon.